The current trade friction between the United States and Canada appears to have ignited from specific actions taken by the U.S. These actions, reportedly linked to policies from the Trump administration, included serious considerations of new tariffs. Such tariffs would directly affect goods moving between the two neighboring countries. The primary aim of these economic measures is often stated as protecting domestic industries. However, they frequently lead to significant disagreements. Trading partners like Canada can feel their economic interests are unfairly targeted, prompting responses. This situation set a tense backdrop for international commerce. The introduction or even the mere threat of tariffs on certain goods prompted Canadian provinces to evaluate their positions. They began to consider how best to protect their own economies. This scenario initiated a potential series of responses and counter-responses. It highlighted the delicate balance of international trade relationships. The initial threats and tariff considerations emanating from the U.S. were perceived as a significant challenge by Canadian authorities. This perception led to urgent discussions within Canada. These discussions focused on finding appropriate countermeasures. The goal was to offset any negative impacts resulting from the U.S. policies. In response to U.S. tariff policies, British Columbia considered countermeasures. One proposal was tolls on Alaska-bound commercial traffic. Leaders saw this as a way to react to U.S. tariffs. They indicated readiness to introduce these tolls. This targeted Alaska-bound commerce. The province was ready to use its strategic leverage. The introduction of tolls by British Columbia on routes essential for Alaska-bound commerce raised immediate and significant concerns. These concerns centered on the potential economic impact on the state of Alaska. Alaska's unique geography plays a critical role here. Many goods and essential supplies reach the state via land routes predominantly passing through Canadian territory, particularly through the province of British Columbia. If these tolls were to be implemented, they would likely cause a substantial increase in the cost of shipping goods to Alaska. This increase could in turn lead to higher prices for consumers and businesses operating within the state. Such a development could affect various sectors of the Alaskan economy. The prospect of such tolls created considerable uncertainty for businesses that rely on predictable and affordable access through Canadian territory for their daily operations. The situation was described by some concerned parties as Canada potentially blocking a U.S. access route to Alaska. This phrasing highlighted the critical nature of these transit pathways for the state. The ripple effect could also touch upon the cost of living for ordinary Alaskans, making everyday items more expensive. In Alaska, the state's House of Representatives took swift and decisive action by passing a resolution specifically to address the unfolding situation with British Columbia's proposed tolls. This resolution, notably introduced by Anchorage Republican Representative Chuck Kopp, managed to gain broad support from lawmakers across different political parties. The primary aim of this important legislative measure was to formally state Alaska's official position on the matter. The resolution carried a carefully crafted dual message. On one hand, it strongly condemned measures designed to counter U.S. tariffs, including the highway tolls specifically proposed by British Columbia. On the other hand, it also took a significant and noteworthy step to support Canadian sovereignty. By passing this resolution, Alaskan lawmakers sought to engage diplomatically. They aimed to express their profound concerns about the potential consequences of the proposed tolls on the state's economy. The document was intended to be a formal communication emphasizing the critical importance of finding a mutually agreeable solution. The debate surrounding the resolution in the Alaskan House was reportedly thorough. Lawmakers from various districts voiced their constituents' anxieties, highlighting the dependence of their communities on the Canadian transit routes. The resolution was seen as a proactive step to influence the discourse before the tolls became a reality. During the Alaskan resolution discussions, key officials provided compelling testimony. Among them was Yukon Premier Ranj Pillai. His input underscored the deep, multifaceted relationship between Alaska and Canada. They share more than just a geographical border. They have a long history of cooperation and interconnected economies. Testimony highlighted significant risks. Escalating tariffs could threaten this partnership. Officials stressed the importance of economic ties and cooperation. The focus was on mutual benefits from this close relationship. A particularly key component of the resolution passed by the Alaska State House was its explicit and unambiguous support for Canadian sovereignty. This affirmation was a significant diplomatic gesture, especially considering it came from a U.S. state legislature. It occurred within the context of a potentially escalating trade disagreement. This statement signaled a clear respect for Canada's autonomy. It also acknowledged Canada's inherent right to make its own decisions regarding its territory and policies. This was maintained even while disagreeing with specific proposed actions, such as the highway tolls on Alaska-bound commercial traffic. This particular part of the resolution aimed to ensure a crucial point. It was designed to make clear that Alaska's concerns about the tolls were not to be misinterpreted. They were not intended as a challenge to Canada's authority over its own territory or its policy-making processes. Instead, it framed the issue as a matter of mutual concern. It was presented as a problem that needed to be addressed through respectful and constructive dialogue between the affected parties. By formally affirming Canadian sovereignty, Alaskan lawmakers hoped to foster a more cooperative environment. They believed this could lead to resolving the dispute, emphasizing shared values and mutual respect. The resolution's language also touched upon the shared history between the two nations. Following its successful passage in the Alaska State House, the resolution concerning Canadian sovereignty and the proposed tolls was set to move forward. Its next destination was the Alaskan Senate. This next stage in the legislative process involves further readings and detailed deliberations by state senators before a final vote is taken on the measure. The progression of this resolution through Alaska's legislative system indicates the seriousness with which Alaskan lawmakers are treating the issue. They are clearly concerned about the potential impact of the trade dispute with British Columbia on their state's economy and its people. If the resolution successfully navigates the Alaska Senate and passes, there is a clear plan for its dissemination. It is planned to be formally transmitted to a wide range of influential officials. This list includes key figures in both the United States and Canadian governments. For instance, copies would be sent to the U.S. President, Canadian Prime Minister, and relevant provincial leaders. The act of sending the resolution would serve as an official communication of Alaska's unified stance. It aims to influence ongoing discussions. The hope is to encourage a favorable outcome that protects Alaskan interests while also respecting international relations. The situation remains highly dynamic, with both Alaskan and Canadian entities carefully considering their next moves. The ongoing dispute over potential tolls in British Columbia and the preceding U.S. tariff measures carries implications beyond Alaska and its Canadian neighbors. Trade frictions between close allies can affect the wider U.S. Canada relationship. These countries share a large trading partnership. Their economies are deeply intertwined. They have a long history of cooperation. Managing disagreements is crucial to prevent escalation. Alaska's resolution calls for dialogue and shared values. It seeks a path forward to avoid conflict. By communicating its position, Alaska hopes to contribute to a resolution. The goal is to avoid harmful economic consequences and preserve strong bilateral ties. The emphasis is on finding common ground and addressing trade concerns through negotiation. Solutions require patience and compromise from all parties.